Time Wizard Tuesday coming at you guys. Today we are doing something very special. It has been 35 weeks in the making. This list is updated all the way up until the tournament we just had on Sunday, 2 days ago. This is the Rome Edison Format tier list based only on AED's tournament. So only on the one store held on Sunday. We do have two other tournaments. However, I did not track those, so these are solely based on the ones I posted for the Edison Format Italia page. This is the meta for one card shop, okay? But it is 35 weeks of data with an average player count of around 18. Some weeks there were 25 plus, some weeks we were on the lower end. So it averaged out to around 18 players or so altogether. Especially when it was skewed because one of the weeks there were like 60 something people, so it skews the average a little bit there. But again, this is based solely on one store's Sunday tournaments. Okay, so this is 35 weeks in the making. I've been building up this list, keeping the data, tracking it, and it's important to note before anybody comments below, if you think, oh, wait, I remember winning, I remember topping with such and such deck, you have to remember this data is only from the moment I started keeping track of it for the Edison Format Italia page. So, if you see that you only have one win with such and such deck and you know you won more than once with that deck, it's because you did it before I was tracking the data, okay? So without further ado, let's just jump into it because it's pretty interesting. It's not what you expect, but at the same time, it's exactly what you expect. It's really weird what it turned out to be. So first things first, we are going to slow roll the tier list. So we're going to start down here on the bottom rung, tier 3. So these are decks that topped occasionally. However, they weren't in contention to be one of the top decks. Like it doesn't appear a lot. It's there. I think this is like maybe under 6 tops, under 7 tops, something like that. I have the actual data a little further on, but we have Norlares, and this is regular zombie. So diva-less zombie. That includes instant fusion, ultimate offering, whatever. No diva in the deck. Zombie. Although I think if you're playing the diva build, the ultimate offering, you might be on diva depending on whatever. Not the point. Anyway, the point is, this is zombies without diva. All right. This also includes, this includes the skill drain zombie deck that I topped with before as well. So at tier 3, we have Norlares. We have regular zombie. So at tier 2.5, we have quick draw. We have dragons. Dragons, okay, for this one, was not tracked properly. We did not distinguish between Dragon Turbo and Disaster Dragon. There were too many weeks where people simply wrote Dragon. And, it was not distinguished which build of dragon they were playing, so we had to just keep it as dragon. But even by combining them together, it still put it in the tier 2.5 category. And then next up, we had Genzo, which was pretty much only one player. Shoutouts, Ricardo, pretty much just the one guy topping with Genzo. So the entirety of it being put on the tier list was on the back of one player. And then we have Fairy. So this was the just plain Christia Fairies, not Fairy Sworn, just the regular Fairy deck with Christia. Sometimes, they play the Dimensional Alchemist, etc., etc. That deck, put it at the tier 2.5 category. And then Amaryllis, and then Frog Monarchs. So Amaryllis, there's not too many people playing it, so it has a lower top count. And Frog Monarchs, this also includes my burn deck, which I included it because for the simple fact of my entire main deck was Frog Monarch. It was just the side deck that was burned, so technically it was a Frog Monarch deck. But it's other players as well. I think the top count was like 4 or 5 total for Frog Monarch. It was not very high. So then we move on to actual tier 2. We have Diva Zombie. Okay, Diva Zombie, pretty good deck. Diva Hero, all right. Then we have Frog here. This is the Frog Hero. I didn't feel like making an image for it, but Frog Hero, Frog Hero. So this right here, the Substitute is representing Frog Hero in this instance. So we have Diva Zombie, Diva Hero, Frog Hero. Again, too lazy to change the pictures. I'm sorry. You can hear me talking about it. And then Machina at coming in last. So again, this is based solely on the number of tops. Okay, so this is how many times in the past 35 weeks, 35 events, whatever, however you want to look at it, the decks topped and the amount of tops they received. And we put those at tier 2 based on those tops. So we have Diva Zombie, Diva Hero, Frog Hero, and then Machina. So pretty cool. I mean, Machina's not in the tier 1 like it was on that guy's list, but I believe his list, the 100,000 list is what I'm referring to, 100,000 games on Dueling Book, I believe his was win percentage, and so that's just wins overall, whereas ours, this is simply tops. I mean, the person could have went X2 and topped, so it's there, it's here. Machina tier 2, people expect that, right? And then we have tier 1.5, so 1.5 coming in with Rogue, so the little, gadgets that just represents Rogue. There were too many decks that were just like, it topped one time, and like, it was just too many to differentiate from. The Flamvels, the Gravekeepers, the the virus turbo stuff, and Gladiator Beast got thrown into Rogue as well because Gladiator Beast only had like 2 tops, and like one of them was me, one of them was somebody else. It was not worth creating a category of its own for it. So I think Rogue ended up having like 37 tops or something like that, 33, something like this. So like almost every week, there's some kind of Rogue deck, some unexpected deck. So a lot of things fell into this Rogue category, as well as Twilight, I think, got included as Rogue. There's a few other fun decks. Flamvell Blackwing, Fish got included as Rogue as well. Frog Flamvell, Uriah Turbo, Alien, Macro, Chaos Plants were counted as Rogue. I believe that's everything that we counted as Rogue for this, though. Like, Dark Gaia, I also think was counted as Rogue because it had like 1 or 2 tops. Like I said, if it didn't top more than like 4 times, it was not given its own category. That's why Genzo got its own category, because it had more than like 2 or 3 tops. So some of these decks in Rogue is, it showed up once and the people never played it again. Because I know I personally, every time I bring a Rogue deck, I only play it the 1 week, and then I change decks. And then coming in next is a Rescue Cat. Good old Cat Synchro. So the Cat Synchro can include the Flamvell as well, but I honestly don't think it does. I think it's only Cat Synchro decks. I can't remember a time that it was ever a Flamvell build in the top, but maybe once or twice. Cat deck got in. And then next up we have Lightsworn. So Lightsworn's pretty popular here, so not too surprising seeing it coming in at the tier 1.5 level. And then of course Ugo, very famous player here in Italy, for his Lightsworn builds. So Lightsworn pops up. And then we have Diva Hero Beat, or Hero Beat. I did not distinguish between Diva Hero Beat and Hero Beat because a lot of the weeks it was not distinguished on the list, and it was damn near impossible to tell which was which. So, for the sanctity of my own brain and sanity, Diva Hero Beat without Diva was counted as one deck. So, Alias Beatdown, it's counted as one deck, came in at tier 1.5. And after revealing all these, you should obviously know what tier 1 is, right? Like, it should be super obvious now what tier 1 is. There's 2 big decks missing from this list, Blackwing and Vayu Turbo. So those are considered the best decks to play if you want to top. So these are the best decks to play if you want to top the event. You should play Blackwing or Vayu. And I think third best was actually Rogue. So it's a little hard to determine what decks, right? But let's take a look at the numbers. We do have the numbers. So the number of tops, Blackwing had 43 tops. That means there were multiple weeks where Blackwing had multiple tops because this only tracked 35 weeks of tournaments. And there's 43 Blackwings. I know there was 1 week where half the top 8 was Blackwing. There were 4 Blackwing in the top 8. So you can see where that happens. And then second up, we have Vayu coming in at 39 tops. Rogue coming in at 36 tops. Cat Synchro at 21 tops. Lightsworn at 22. All right, so the Cat Synchro with 21 tops. Here's a little secret for you. Most of those are just 2 players. Most of those are just 2 players. There's a couple of other people who've taught with Cat Synchro, but the large chunk of that number came from just 2 guys. All right, so next up we have Lightsworn, 22 tops. Hero Beat, again, we did not distinguish between Diva Hero Beat and Hero Beat, so 18 tops. Diva Zombie, 16 tops. Machina, 12 tops. Frog Hero, 11 tops. Diva Hero, 9 tops. Quick Draw 9. Dragon, again, was not distinguished between Dragon Turbo, Disaster Dragon, DD Warrior Lady Dragon, whatever, Flip Dragon. It was not distinguished because most of the time it just said Dragon. It doesn't help me. I don't know which build it is. So, Dragon, 9 tops. Jinzo, 7 tops. I think all those were one guy. There might be one Jinzo top that was somebody else. 7 tops for Jinzo. All right. So now you can see why Jinzo was included and got its own category on the list, okay? Frog Monarch, 7 tops. Fairy, 5 tops. Amaryllis, 6 tops. Zombie, this says Zombie No Diva, so Diva-less Zombie, 5 tops. And Norlares, 5 tops. And the reason this is not in order is I don't know. I don't know why the hell it did not put this list in order by the number. Actually, I do know. When I updated it for week 35, that's why I forgot to resort. That is my fault. I apologize. But for the most part, I think only like Lightsworn, Cat Synchro, and the Amaryllis Fairy are out of order. So it's not too bad. So this is the number of tops in 35 weeks. Blackwing coming in with 43 tops. Keep that number in mind. So here is the deck and number of tops in the 35-week period by percentage. So Blackwing, 15% of the time top. Vayu, 14%. Rogue, 13%. Cat, 7.5%. Lightsworn, almost at 8% at the 22. Hero Beat, 6.4% of the time. Diva Zombie, 5.7%. Machina, 4.3%. Frog Hero, 3.9%. And then we have the variety of other decks there with their few tops, 1 or 2 here and there. So we know what is the best deck based on topping. We have Vayu and Blackwing. Cool. But what's the best deck based on the number of wins? So what deck has won the most tournaments? That is what we wanted to look at as well. So the deck that this either means the player went undefeated or went X1 or X01, tying in the final round. So let's take a look at the tier list. I guess it's not really a tier list on this one. I just labeled it as the amount of wins they had. And with 0 wins, they have never won the tournament. We have Quick Draw, Dragon, Amaryllis. So these 3 decks have never actually won. They have only topped. Okay. So if you want to win, maybe don't play Quick Draw. Maybe don't play Dragon. Maybe don't play Amaryllis. But if you want to top, sure, you can play them, right? They've topped. All right, and next we move on to the 1-win category. They have won 1 time. Norlares, Jinzo, the Shining Angels, Fairies, Machina, and then Diva Zombie has only won 1 time. So Machina's won 1 time. Diva Zombie has won 1 time. And I think the Machina win was like literally this weekend was the one Machina win. Like literally just happened. The Jinzo, I know for a fact Jinzo has won twice because I believe he went undefeated back-to-back weeks, but we didn't start tracking the data, I think, until the week after. So it's, I didn't want to mess it up because I didn't know the rest of the decks at top that week. So we kept it with just the data we know. So looking at this list, Machina's good for topping, but not for winning. Diva Zombie, good for topping, but not for winning. But what's good for winning? All right, so let's move on to the 2 to 3 wins. I believe that's the next category. So the 2 to 3 wins, we have Diva Hero has won 2 to 3 times. Lightsworn has won 2 to 3 times. Hero Beat, 2 to 3 times. Frog Monarchs, 2 to 3 times. Regular Zombies, 2 to 3 wins. So it has more wins than Diva Zombie. And if you remember our data, it topped way less. So something to keep that in mind. And oh, the big surprise here. Vayu sitting in the 3rd bracket with only 2 to 3 wins in a 35-week period. Interesting. I do believe the actual number of tops for Vayu is 2. Wins for Vayu is 2. So it only won 2 times. And then we have Rogue here because like this includes lots of different decks. Like I said, I won once with Flamvell Blackwing, which I guess technically you can count that as Blackwing, whatever not. So Flamvell and the various decks from other players, like the Mausoleum stuff, etc., etc. Lots of different things fall into this category. And then, of course, also sitting in the 3rd rung of the tier list here is regular Blackwing. So our 2 top decks for topping are not in the top of the list. They're the 3rd tier. What's going on here? So they have the most tops. They obviously must have had the most representation to have the most tops. And they did not make it to the top of the list. They did not win the event. So let's take a look at the 2nd tier here. We have just one deck with 4 wins, and that is Frog Hero. So Frog Hero has won 4 times, undefeated, tied, or, X1 and ended up being in 1st place. Because we do not play out top 8. We just play Swiss, and whatever's at end of Swiss is our top cut, and that's that. So, have you realized yet what the number 1 winning deck is based off of the revealed decks? If you follow Edison Format Italia, you will know already what the number 1 winning deck is, or you would have had a guess of the number 1 winning deck based solely on the amount of weeks he won in a row with the deck. So, the number 1 deck is none other than Cat Synchro. Cat Synchro with 4 or more wins, so 4 plus. So more than 4. I probably should have put 5 plus because 4 was bracket 2 that I'm looking at it. But whatever. It doesn't matter because it's the number is higher than that, okay? So does this mean anybody can just play Cat Synchro and top in Rome? No, it means those 2 players are really, really good with Cat Synchro. That's what that means. It means they have dominated several tournaments with Cat Synchro and took 1st place with it. So according to the number of wins tier list, Cat Synchro's best deck, right? How do you feel about that? Comment below. Let me know, how do you feel about Cat Synchro being the best deck? BDIF, best deck in the format for this card shop at least. So I don't think it's the best deck. I just think very, very strong players were playing it. It's ultimately what it came down to. Very powerful duelist, as other people would say, were playing the deck. So let's jump into those numbers, guys. Let's take a look at it. So with the number of wins, Cat Synchro, 7 wins. 7 wins. Yeah, I don't know what else to say about that, bro. Just look at it. Cat 7 wins. It is the most winning deck. It has won the most tournaments. Cat Synchro. It's pretty funny because if you go back to Duelist Grounds in like 2010, lots of people were hyping up Cat Synchro to be the best deck, and then here we are looking at it, and by this data, technically it is the best deck. But by the data of other tournaments outside of this card shop, I think Cat Synchro barely even tops. But, again, this is just an analytical video. We're just taking a look at the data for this card shop, for their tournaments, for Edison Format Italia. Here we are with 7 wins, Cat Synchro, 4 wins, Frog Heroes. Then we have our 3-3-3s, our 2-2-2s, and then our decks with no wins at all. So by the percentage, Cat Synchro has won 20% of the tournaments for the past 35 weeks. And coming in second, Frog Hero at 11.4%. And then Light Sworn and Rogue sharing 8.6%. Again, the Rogue, various decks, so many little one-ofs. It would have made this pie chart, it would have made all the graphs look absolutely ridiculous. So I did not include all the small decks in this. But I do think it's an interesting thing to take a look at. So we'll jump back up real quick. Oh, God, I didn't know I was going to do that. So for the tier list, our number 1 decks are Blackwing and Vayu, but for winning, our number 1 decks are not Blackwing and Vayu. They come in at the 3rd tier of actually winning the event. Interesting stuff, guys. Comment below. Let me know how you feel about this. Remember to check out Edison Format Italia on Facebook. Check out Daywalker Cards on Facebook. Remember to like, follow, subscribe, and I will see you tomorrow for What's Cooking Wednesday.